Man, I love that course and that song from GX. Lightning is definitely one of the most memorable courses ever. Except for the half pipe, which is pretty tedious, especially when you escape from the power plant and save Jody. But this is actually about the Thunder Road in AX. Welcome back to the championship and F-Zero ending it all. Last time, Tinsel Steelix actually mastered the long jump thanks to James McCloud. Gilmore and Shio prepared themselves for the championship by using agility and misdirection. However, James McCloud turned out to be a scoundrel, and Octoman, Clank, and Captain Falcon filled in the gaps. So James McCloud has been apprehended, and now it's passed on to his son Todd, which I'll admit it's actually named from the Fox and the Hound. And the Galaxy Dogs has a new owner. And after their brief race in Port Town, it's off to the championship. Alright, please note that this isn't the final lap chapter, but rather just the championship race. We finally reach Lightning, specifically the Thunder Road circuit, which was introduced during the rare AX Cup from GX. Rick, Falcon, Tinsel, and the Huck Miners have made it to the final round. Would they be able to defeat Dark Melian and seize victory? Lap 15. After a couple days of intensive non-stop training, it seemed to take its toll on Rick. He was the one who's been practicing the most and has been getting less sleep. Falcon was too, but at least he was more adaptable. Tinsel, Gilmore, and Shia watched the ardent duo closely, even when they weren't racing. He was currently at the training circuit in Mute City, and he had participated in every single one prior to this course. He was determined as ever to win the championship, rescue Rodney, and above all else, defeat Black Shadow. Tinsel, Jack, and Lucy found Rick in the Dragon's cockpit. He was having a little shut-eye, until the former rocker knocked on the windshield. Hey! Hey, Wheeler! It's time to wake up! It was almost dusk, and he'd been sleeping for only an hour. He slowly opened them with a groan. Thanks, Jack. This guy doesn't quit, does he? He's been resting less and less, and tomorrow is the championship. This can really wear him down. He may not be ready for the final challenge against Dark Melian. It is, if it is the final challenge. Rick was able to leave the Dragonbird behind, though his best friend was there to escort him in case he decided to drop. He wanted to visit Port Town at Falcon's stronghold, till there was a signal coming from Tinsel's key fob. Take a break, guys! I need you all here at the central chamber, now! It was Clank. The other pilots except the captain were waiting for the missing quartet. They arrived and the kid was as somber as ever. Gazelle was next to him. Roster for championship has been confirmed. Leon, Drac, Gomar, Shio, Beastman, and EAD were there. Even they had grim expressions. Dad's right, you know. He went over the roll call on the large screen. It showed a list of the finalists as well as some other peculiar drivers. According to this, it seems we're not alone. There are still some opponents we weren't expecting. Dynamite Guster will be in the race. This could mean big trouble. These two never get along well. They always tend to fight each other. He and the task force remembered the last time he was chasing after him, when Goro was accused of blowing up space transport. Can't be good for Goro. He might not be able to help us. At least he could give us some leeway, so you guys may have a better chance. But that's not all. Blood Falcon will also make a return. That was disturbing news for everyone, even to the geek. It was highly unlikely since the last clone was obliterated when the team snapped Lucy out of Black Shadow's thrall. According to the rules, he should have been disqualified overall, yet somehow the F-Zero committee allowed him back in. This wasn't the strangest thing that they've ever done since the organization allowed Gomar and Shio to compete. However, this was way worse. What about the others? Are Dr. Stewart, Jody, and the Skull gonna be there? No, but Black Shadow is. What? Oh gosh. Shrek didn't like the sounds of that one bit. Wish I would be there to help demolish that demonic bastard. What are you all worried about? We have Captain Falcon, right? He can deal with them any day, anywhere. It's not that it's not that simple, Jack. Even an unstoppable Grand Prix champion has its limits. Black Shadow. At long last, I would finally race against him. I swear I'll never lose, even if we were to lose Falcon. He recalled the pep talk he had with him in his fortress, how he was suddenly aware of his mortality when he realized his greatest adversary unexpectedly returned. My main concern isn't Zoda anymore. It's him. He was the main culprit who unleashed Zoda and Miss Killer. He's the one who brainwashed us until Tinsel and the others made us return to our senses. That put Lucy, EAD, and even the boastful Jack in a stunned silence. He destroyed Dr. Clash, my mentor. He nearly killed my dad. He's not really a hero anymore like we thought. Guess we all have a motive on beating him. But it's up to us finalists who can. The duelists said they'll follow us to Lightning, just in case anything should run amok. They always say that he's a racer from the Shadow Realm. How wrong they are. Then again, Yugi, and Joey misinterpreted him. Lightning of all places. Maybe violent, but that won't stop the fanatics from participating. At least it has a stadium. I've raced there before, at the Volute track, in Lost Landing. This isn't the same, Rick. Not like this. Thunder Road is a circuit that's rarely been occupied. It's also worth noting it's an elite course. She explained a distant planet was given that name because of its endless volatile atmosphere. It was claimed to be a calm world, but it was the air was polluted, the weather took a drastic change. It continues to destroy the ozone layer. Bolts kept hammering down that power companies were able to harness the electricity, recycling up to 10 million gigawatts. The output's so powerful that the energy is being channeled to neighboring planets. The course itself is lethal to its 90-degree turns. He wasn't looking forward to it because of that annoying gimmick. But remember, misdirection. She too dreaded it was around the area where she met Black Shadow. She had a really bad feeling he would try something. Don't worry so much, Tinsel. We can win this. Together. We can't let him emerge victorious, nor harm Rodney. Better be right. What she didn't notice was his vision was becoming foggy and his head was swimming. He looked at the group for a moment until... Rick! Everybody gathered around him as he collapsed onto the couch. He couldn't respond as they attempted to shake him awake and kept calling his name. He was in a comfortable bed. His jacket was removed and hanging on a rack. The sun just rose and Jack and Tinsel were sitting by him. His eyes fluttered and he startled himself up. Oh, Jack and Jack! Rick, you're exhausted. You should sleep for a few more hours. Competition won't start until tonight, so get your rest. But I must prepare myself for Black Shadow. How could I... Lucy and the Gazelle are looking over the Dragon Bird for you, making any last-minute adjustments. Same thing with the Comet and then Rita. Falcon will meet us at his designated location by 6 p.m. sharp. Yuki and Joey are organizing their decks, putting their best monsters on the line. For once, Jack's right. You do need some sleep. He was awestruck. What did you say? You Said 'em right. Well, that's a first. Don't let it get to your head. Looking back, he murmured, "You can be so dang stubborn, you know that, Wheeler? You make it sound like you're the only one fighting Doc Million." Huh? Hey, lighten up a little, would ya? You should just rely on us for now. Jack removed his grip, revealing a thin smile. Yeah, you're not alone in this, Rick. You still have me, Falcon, and the Fury Cakes on your side. If anything should go wrong, you still have us in the task force waiting for you. Oh, and there's also Haruka watching over you. Jack, Tinsel. He was so wrapped up that he almost disregarded there was someone upstairs who was looking out for him. Idiot. That made her snicker. Jack didn't seem to be much of a hassle as he was before. He became a lot more supportive since they rescued him back in Europolis. Darkness fell around the city in a fuchsia hue. Both Jack and Tinsel looked out from the balcony at the utmost floor in headquarters, and it was only almost 6. He's not used to depending on others. Doesn't even know we have saved his sorry ass many times. Can only go so far, Jack. These guys are on a completely different level. It's true we can depend on Falcon forever. We all have an expiration date. Jack! Tinsel never saw him this wired, or this anxious about anything. He was always calm, though cocky. He laid a hand on the glass casing as he sulked. Oh, help me just hinder him! How could anyone stand up against an evil organization like this alone? I'm certain this is only his way of coping it, but I'm sure that he knows he's never alone. We got him this far, didn't we? Tinsel was caught up in her own fears that he didn't notice someone marching in. Tinsel! She rose her head abruptly and saw Rick accompanied by Gilmore and Shio. He looked like he was ready to hunt some bear. Let's go. Falcon is waiting. They were off to the bounty hunter's spot located near a warp gate, although from past experience he and Tinsel knew this only led to Big Blue. However, this was still the shortest way. We can't access lightning from the air, so we must take this warp gate. Follow me. The foursome obliged, and on the highway a couple of people were approaching them from the rear. They automatically suspected it was the Bloody Chain or some other street gang, but instead it was an adult Yugi riding on Cursed Dragon and Joey on his Red Eyes Black Dragon. They were so relieved since the road was clear, unlike last year. Rick and the aliens were shocked seeing the spiky-haired kid mature so fast. He explained it was all thanks to the sacred Millennium Puzzle he wore. He said that Yugi is only the modern version of the spirit that dwells within it. By the time he put it together, after receiving it from his grandpa Solomon, Yugi's soul was released and the monsters came to life. In numerous car duels, yet they had to venture into the universe of intergalactic racing, which was how they met the elusive masked man Falcon. They were involved in several missions, such as rescuing some pilots, dealing with Black Shadow's schemes, and seeing him win a few challenges. Currently, Yami is trying to put together a more personal riddle of his very own. We finally reached the gateway to Lightning with Falcon leading the pack. Came across a very familiar sight as he, Tinsel, and Duelist passed an active tower. Belonged to one of the power pellets that's capable of housing the planet's energy. Memories escaping it and saving Jody flashed into their minds. It wasn't ready to explode this time, and the areas surrounding it were destroyed. It's pretty fascinating to say the least. For Joey, there were some images of him chasing the Blue Falcon with a speed-sensitive bomb attached to it while riding his Black Dragon. Two-card specialist never stopped worrying about the demon since the night they first met him. Tinsel was sorry she never got involved in the Battle City, nor the quest for the legendary dragons, since searching for the task force was her biggest priority. Still, they forgave her. Besides, the battles they fought weren't for the faint of heart anyway. Neither was this course. It was several miles away. Despite the fatal lightning, Falcon assured the newcomers that as long as they stay close to the ground, they won't get struck. Once they got to the track, it's unlikely anyone would get electrocuted since the technicians were kind enough to absorb the storm thanks to some very tall rods conveniently located throughout. No matter how high the pilots would go, they won't get hurt as long as the tracks didn't enter the stratosphere. Task force would love to cheer them on, but they were never that foolish on being inside the arena. They were already booked, so very few of them were available. Duelists were lucky enough, and they were the only means on keeping the finalists safe. It's like deja vu, as well as for Falcon and Tinsel, their mind shifted back to the Grand Prix last year. Even the starting sights of the Black Bull, the Fire Stingray, and especially the Hellhawk. The intense rumbles of thunder and sudden flashes of lightning made the stadium even more terrifying. We must win this. We cannot let Black Shadow and his thugs have their way. Quickly, into our machines. Yugi, Joey, watch us closely from the bleachers. We will need backup. They ran to them just before the instantaneously packed by hardcore addicts. They were piling in. No one saw Black Shadow enter his machine. Rick managed to observe a conversation with Miss Killer and the champion's carbon copy. The roar of the audience was just enough to go over the harsh, deep booms. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and fans from all worlds, this is it, the final challenge here at Lightning. This will be an exhilarating competition as each one of our pilots will fight for the glory of the championship. Whoever wins may also take the title as this year's Grand Prix champion. The winner will be decided just as soon as the results are tallied for this course alone. So sit tight and root for your all-time favorite racers. They'll need all the support they can possibly get. It's game time. Winner takes all. The signal began just as soon as there was a strike directly on top of the stadium itself. We started with a couple dash plates, which the racers were clearly fighting over. It was no surprise for the Fire Stingray and the Green Panther. They had to be aware of the sharp right turn, followed by another dash. At that 90-degree angle, all machines battled it out, their spin and side attacks. Conflict was incredibly fierce, however there was no threat since there was a pit area. All the competitors had to be aware of the bold arrow signs, otherwise there was a risk on falling off upon every hairpin turn. Then another right turn and a long straightaway enabled the vehicles to be neck and neck, especially the Silver Comet and the Moon Shadow, which made a few nudges. Twin Narita remained at the rear, and there were still no signs of the ominous Black Bull. Another speed boost awaited them, and the Dragon Bird was lucky enough to take it. Then another right turn made the machines turn sharply, almost as if they were drifting. The Falcon next to the Dragon took the boost. The course narrowed. There was a jump with searchlights surrounding it to make it easier to see upon descent, following another sharp right. Machines clustered, and it was unclear who took the next boost. Given full throttle as they approached the pit area and then met a right curve, followed by another skinny track and a longer jump. Most of the machines lifted the nozzles to have a longer leap, including Tinsel's. She was starting to think James's technique has really paid off, since it allowed her to get ahead of the other racers. Didn't seem to last, though. There was yet another speed boost, a sharp left curve, and a pit area that swerved from side to side, making the pilots bump into each other constantly as they fought over the regenerators. After a few technical left turns and another dash, they were finally reached the goal. Their boosters were activated, making the war rage as much as the endless storm. The 9 pilots have survived the first lap, but the battle had just begun. Twin Narita passed their first opponent, who deliberately slowed its pacing. Ah! It's the Bloodhawk! Yeah, but he doesn't seem to be attacking us. Why? He's only letting us pass through. Rivaling space pirates at each other's throats as soon as their machines caught up. They were acting like a couple of rumblefish as they fought one another. Both the Stingray and the Panther clashed together. I need to win this race because I have to beat Falcon. To battle, buddy. You gotta deal with me. Since when I was your old buddy? You always sabotage my bounties no matter where I go. I don't sabotage your bounties, I destroy them. That's the fun part. No wonder you sing Dynamo Guster. You really think Lisa would appreciate someone who's so dull? who never enjoys life and isn't passionate on what he does. I'd be bored out of my mind. How dare you go behind my back at the Takoran moon while we both captured Lord Kimbo? I was the best. I was the one who helped you in your time of need. You can't do anything right by yourself. You can barely win against Falcon, and you lost to him, a woman and a dog recently. What kind of thief are you exactly? I forgot. God damn you, Guster! Both machines broke down from their rant. They were too busy fighting each other when winning the race. Some things Rick, Falcon, and the others shouldn't be involved with. Red hue surrounded the reckless Bloodhawk as it spun at the speed of sound. Blood Falcon was closing in on his opponents. His target were the Fear Cakes. They tried to misguide us as much as possible and outmaneuver and confuse the madman. Bloodfire was too fast and powerful for them. Not even the enhancements from the Big Fang weren't enough for the Dark Reactor might. The duo-driven device was split in two and smithereens flew and spun across the course. Oh no! Gomar! Shio! You'll pay for this, you brutal, power-hungry bastard! Booster! Fire! She yanked the stick back as far as it could, and her comet was engulfed in a turquoise flare. She activated it just before the hawk caught up. Like two Beyblades, they hit and bounced off each other. In a slight curve, they leaned in and tried to push the other person off. Flashbacks from yesteryear's race were re-entering Tinsel's mind. She was in Mute City. And if you'd seen the crossover, Falcon's followers, you would know. Clone was ruthless as it bashed into the comet. It was rolling low on energy as power was draining rapidly from the Hawk's brutality. Its body was one level stronger. She eventually saw a sharp right turn, then she shifted back to the present. Being her grip was a few levels higher than his, while her other stats remained the same as the foe's craft, it was easy for her. When they were still accelerating, she slammed on the brakes, and the result caused the Hawk to fall through the guardrails. The comet returned to normal, and she took a deep sigh of relief. But the moon shadow was close behind, and another machine made her cringe. The Black Bull showed up on the last lap in all sinister glory. Falcon was the first to lay eyes on his old nemesis, and he warned his partner he was coming. Rick wasn't that intimidated about it, when he realized the machine wasn't as destructive as everyone feared it to be. He had some intel before the race, but it was heavy, just as tough, and tons of titanium alloy. The Black Bull seems to have a decent cornering and is very strong, but he's really slow. Apparently I'd underestimated you, but soon you'll be playing the fool, Wheeler. If I can't win the race, I might as well destroy everyone and everything. I'm here to eliminate any obstacle in my way and take the championship. And I do mean anything. Victory shall be mine. Black fire! Silver Comet and the Moon Shadows saw the violet spark closing fast. He was gaining up on the two leaders, putting the captain at unease. Dragonbird was behind the Blue Falcon, and he sustained some damage first as they immediately used their own booster fires. Black Shadow was astonished. You both withstood my attack. What's the matter? Used up all your trump cards? Without that speed booster, the Dragonbird and the Blue Falcon are still on top. The Emperor of Brutality just gleamed at him. Falcon just showed a frightening expression. Rick, don't get so brash. Remember what I said about using two black fire? Oh, no way! But how? What? What's happening? Shouldn't a reactor might be used one per race? Rick! Falcon! Look out! Tinsel and Furycake saw it happen again. Falcon was right after all. He warned him this would happen. Oh, Rick! The extraterrestrial known as the Commissioner was also watching the race. The race must be stopped. We have to save the pilots. This is highly unorthodox. So far, the bull was closing in more and more on the dragon, and the Blue Falcon escaped as the racer deliberately went off course. Falcon Flare was there waiting for him. He pleaded Rick to jump, but he was pretty stubborn, since he wanted to finish the race. As a result, he was hit by the second Blackfire in an explosion. The villain mentioned his bull had 2 reactor mites installed within each of his indestructible horns, hence 2 chances for the Blackfire. They reached across the finish line, but the collision caused the dragon bird to flip and collide onto the course, rendering Rick unconscious. Everyone watching had a loss for words and were completely frozen in fear, even Mr. Zero. This was just horrid. On how a single trusted pilot could cause that much killing and destruction. It's unclear who won. Did Rick Wheeler and the Dragon Bird survive? The Devil showed absolutely no remorse as the Black Bull shot 4 sensors into the air while the storm was still raging. They formed a cube which seemed like a rip in the sky. The machine rose, ejected a pair of grappling hooks, and carried the Dragon Bird and the unconscious pilot aloft. Ah! They're gone! What's gotten into these 2? Tinsel, the Hawk Miners, the duelists, and even those within the task force were so distraught. She and the aliens were caught off guard. Tinsel Steelus, I finally have my chance to murder you. Although you should be glad that Wheeler would still be alive. Now it all made sense. Clearly Dark Million planned this right from the start. What are you? It's time to pay back all the meddling you caused us and your futile attempts to reunite the task force. You hadn't succeeded since Jody and Dr. Stewart are still within our power, and soon Rodney. Say hello to Baba, Biorex, and Zoda for us, you good-for-nothing skank! She was shaking from head to feet. Their lives were coming to a sudden end all around them. Just then there was a shot, and the bullet ricocheted off the moon shadow. Falcon Flare soared over the scrimmage, and Luna fired a few attempts. They did nothing, and the bounty hunter aimed his own nozzles directly at her. She withdrew her weapon and just smiled. Nice try, Falcon. I'll eventually plot my revenge on you. But right now I must meet Lord Shadow where he's holding our prodigal son. He shall become one of us again very shortly. We will gladly see this through. I will finish you all after that. Ha 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 ha! No! She screamed, and tears burst in her eyes. She sunk on all fours. Thunder clapped as the weather was also in turmoil. This was the thing she terrified the most. Were she and Falcon too late? Dark, quiet, spacious chamber, Rick woke up. And he noticed he's in some large golden spider web. His arms were raised and cuffed above his sore body. Where am I? So, you're awake. It'd be less painful if you were still asleep. Jody and Stewart were close to each side. Welcome back, Rick. I'm sure you are acquainted with this place by now. I remember it very well. I should have known you would bring me back here. What do you want? Why don't you ask your associates then? They were the ones who helped me apprehend you. Ha ha ha! Jody? Doctor? Yes. Yes, Wheeler. It is us. Long time no see. If you're here to kill me, then you've done one hell of a job. Oh no. That's where you are wrong. We actually want you to join us again. We've been waiting for this for the past several weeks, Rick. You do realize that Black Shadow is sparing your life for a reason. Huh? Be grateful you aren't put on probation for all the orders you have broken, Wheeler. You may be a traitor, but we are willing to give you a second chance. Become one of us as a vital part of Dark Million. Your lover will be pleased. No! No way in hell! I won't be recruited as your loyal subject! Never again! I've been thinking on ways on dealing with you, Rick Wheeler. Our talented colleagues like the Skull, Miss Killer, and Zoda gave me the perfect plan to do so. It was experimental, but since the Dark Solution worked temporarily on Tinsel, that was when we strived. She remembered the hovercraft tub at Tortoise 3. So, I began my search for the 6 reactor mites. I'd found all 3 containing darkness. By the time you were vulnerable, we made our move upon the task force. By exposure, they were as weak as the kittens in a litter. After 150 years in his resurrection, he then realized that Rick was a powerful force to be reckoned with, to tip the scales against Captain Falcon. The time has come. Not in our dreams, of course. I had made a reversal for the effects of the agent. Since it was able to enhance neurological functions, it would be merely impossible. Lord Shadow himself has the right idea. The brain is 77% water, making it the flawless method for him to manipulate the minds of his victims. Not to mention, he used the dark reactor mites while creating it. Oh, and at that time you came to terms of the death of your loved one, Haruka. With an empty vessel and no spirit to inherit, it was easy to control. You two will be reunited as you are both shrouded in darkness. One happy couple. So that's what this is all about. Huh? Don't want to hurt you, Jody, but if I have to kill Black Shadow and avenge Haruka's death, I will. I assure you, you won't have to. Haven't you forgotten our bond, Rick? Don't bother. We don't have time to play with you. My son has already found his place. We will be a family no longer torn by grief like father like son, as you would with her. Black Shadow's body illuminated. Then he released a binding energy rope of sorts that entangled Rick in. You, the task force, and the remaining reactor mites will soon be mine once more. When they are, my precious dream will be realized. Use the kinesis to lift the hapless racer and throw him into another tank. It was empty and the hatch sealed shut. Ah! 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 Black Shadow! You won't get away with this! It began to fill up. Strangest thing was he could still breathe despite it being difficult from his pounding heart. What is this? Rick, calm yourself. This will be over shortly. No harm will befall you. You are with us now. Somehow he felt himself being soothed by his words. Then again, when was the high mind ever wrong? He started to get more and more placid. You'll be put into a deep sleep while your mind will be wiped clean, making you the perfect pawn without any resistance, never to remember the life you lost. I believe this is what you truly desire, isn't it? You were born with a traumatic, inescapable past, having to bear so much pain and sacrifice alone against such a dark fate. You've walked a hard path, just as I did. His Black Shadow's voice became deeper and it softened while he spoke in a sort of rhythmic tone. Lean back and cleanse your mind. Leave this all to us now. Relax, Rick. Relax. Relax. Relax for a while and serve us. The influence was successful as Rick's heavy body and mind began to slip away, while his pupils enlarged. He began closing his eyes. His head dropped and his eyelids moved rapidly. Rick! Who's there? Rick! Yet he was very weak. He didn't realize it belonged to Falcon. You can be so dang stubborn, you know that, Wheeler? You should just rely on us for now. We wanted you to know, if you work together, you can accomplish anything. You don't win when you're lucky. You win when you're bold. He had glimpses on the faces of Leon shaking his hand, then Lucy, Rodney, Beastman, EAD, Clank, Gazelle, Drac, Bert, and even... You're the only one who can do this, Rick. Do not let your heart be tainted again. Just then his fists clenched. His body was glowing with a shade of cinnabar, then disappearing subsequently. Come back to us. Don't give up. I believe in you. What? How can this be? Jillian Stewart went at a loss for words. Miss Killer's jaw dropped and she stepped back a few inches. You heard him scream at the top of his lungs and burst out of the tank, spewing the liquid everywhere. His body was brightening more as he was utilizing energy from his reactor might. It was almost like a Super Saiyan. Black Shadow used indigo volatile energy from his dark might. He released it and the onslaught covered the victim's body. Yet somehow Rick, through his rage, was more powerful when he deflected it. It was enough to blind the entire chamber, and also burn away some of the demon's face. He held it in brutal agony, almost as if it was covered with corrosive acid. Soon the aura dissipated, and after several deep breaths, Dragon Bird! As if it was anthropomorphic, it responded instantly, appearing right next to him, while his enemies were still immobilized. He glanced at the remaining tank. He punched around it until the lid opened and the fluid spilled out. He grabbed and laid him over the shoulder. Then he was about to approach his car. Rick! Rick! A male and a female yelled for him in the distance. Their machines emerged as they collided with a bunch of death soldiers. The Blue Falcon and the Silver Comet's pilots urged him to hop in. Let's go, Rick! Can you keep up? No problem. Booster fire! All three vehicles crashed through a wall within the violet halls. They floated into the voids of deep space. Thankfully, they had G diffusers, as it was their only means of survival. After a few comforting seconds, they were caught by a tractor beam. Tinsel unleashed her ice jets, freezing a bright amethyst hue. Then the bounty hunter snapped his finger, indicating the falcon flyer to catch them in its maw. By the time he escaped, Black Shadow rose while still covering the injured side of his face. They also recovered and surveyed the damage. My son, he has escaped. I'm afraid we may have underestimated Wheeler. As with Falcon and Tinsel. Lord Shadow? Indeed, we may have miscalculated him. He faced his troops in earnest, with a grimace. Rick's an issue. As long as he has his friends by his stead, I believe it would be no match for him. Unless... Yes, I see your plan. We must rid of his supporters first and foremost. We will start with the one he holds the most dear. Then it would be a cinch from there. Falcon will be next, but we have to remain cautious. Then the reactor mites will be ours for the taking. And lastly, so would Rick. We must also use some tactical force against his friends in the task force, and perhaps the commission. The device should be almost ready, isn't it, Lord Shadow? Soon enough. Jody, Doctor, follow Miss Killer's lead. We have some persuasion to accomplish here. Yes, Lord Shadow. Back on Earth, base received a signal. Central Chamber picked it up. Jack? Clank? Can anyone hear me? Everyone looked up and cheered. They were so glad it made it out in one piece. I'm coming home. We have some planning to do. Our main objective now is to fight back against Black Shadow and rescue the Doctor and the Captain. I have Tinsel, Falcon, and Rodney with me. Stand by for re-entry. Everyone cheered and cried out in glee. Thank you, everyone. Tinsel sat beside him on the couch while Falcon was watching. The couple looked in each other's eyes before they embraced. It's all right, Tinsel. All right. I was so worried sick about you. I never thought you'd still be alive, or even yourself again. I actually wouldn't have made it if it wasn't for you. Huh? You and Falcon saved me, Tinsel. You were a light in the darkness. You gave me the strength I needed to resist Black Shadow and help me save Rodney. I saw my friends appear before me, then Haruka, then you. I know now that I'm no longer alone when facing Dark Million. You've all been there for me, and I will do the same. We're always here for you, Rick. Wait, what about the championship? Who won the race? Who won the Grand Prix? That? I don't know. I can't tell who actually won in Lightning. Either me or Black Shadow. I don't know. We'll be approaching the Earth's atmosphere. Sit tight. Once they did, they entered the base. Gomar, Shio, Yugi, and Joey immersed with the crowd. The trio were greeted by everyone, receiving some tight squeezes and a few pecks from Lucy and Leon. When they finally gave them some leg room, Rick was all smiles. Bert offered the usual to him. It's been tough on you, hasn't it? Enjoy. I have so much to tell all of you. I don't even know where to start. Why don't you start from the beginning, after the race? Okay. Alright, not gonna lie, this was based off of Lap 47 from the Japanese anime known as Fate. He deals with that Black Shadow personally. The rest will have to be brought up later. Blah, blah, blah. There were some references to other lightning courses. No wonder Ephraim 225 lost it, since Black Shadow and the other racers always made it so unforgiving, as did the hazards. So, the question remains, who won the finals and the championship? Why is it a split victory? Could it be Rick or Falcon that took the winner's circle overall? Did Black Shadow prevail as he collided into the Dragon Bird? Even I'm not sure. That may be revealed once the fic is done, and I don't think it'll be... Well, at the time, I didn't know it was going to be over by Christmas. Well, see you all next time, guys. Until then, this is the Ecron Writers signing out. Goodbye, everybody. Hold on. Wish it wasn't cut so short. Alright, welcome back to another episode of F-Zero Ending It All. Last time, our heroes have actually managed to make it to the championship, but there was a split victory between Rick Wheeler and Black Shadow. Actually, Falcon just bailed the course because there were two dark reactor mites installed the Black Bull, in which he used two booster fires which rendered Rick unconscious and imprisoned in Dark Star. Fortunately, he was rescued with the help of his friends, along with Rodney Stewart. So, this is going to be like a breather chapter. And, yeah, so that's pretty much it. Alright, let's get this over with. Lap 16. Clank invited Rick and Tinsel to the Falcon House. He said he had something very special he wanted to show them, particularly to a certain someone who had slept for 150 years. While Gazelle was cleaning up the place and Bert was setting up the diner for more patrons, Rick received a photo of his last race at the Big Apple tournament inside a diary from Clank. So this must be your girlfriend Haruka. But why was this in Alias's home? At some point, Clank knew Alias and became close friends. Both Rick and Tinsel were shocked he was the same kid that was about to receive heart surgery, and the same one that received the stolen medication from Goro and his thugs on the first day she even met Rick. But before all that, as well as prior to Clank's father being killed, Alias showed the young geek an ancient golden journal from a secret room which, according to him, housed many strange things. The book contained some secret info involving Haruka. Alias's mom said it was related to you, so she wanted you to have them. Perhaps Alias was Haruka's grandson? It can't be! Haruka said she never had any relatives. She and Alias don't seem to have the same last name. Sounds coincidental. Haruka. His mind drifted for a while until Clank said he offered to take a peek. Hey, this is Rick's business! This was made from 150 years ago. Same time period he had lost. It wouldn't be right if you were to snoop into it. Didn't you know that a journal is private? I was the one who found this diary. Let me check. I'm afraid she's right, Clank. It's best if we take it with a grain of salt. We should mind our own business. But Ruka looks a lot like Miss Killer. We know. Rick already knew. Ever since he saw her kindred spirit after his mind was restored. He just got up and went, nearly bumping into the janitorial robot. He must have a lot to think about after finding this. I sure hope he'll feel better in time. Maybe it'll give some more insight on what happened after he was put into cold sleep. She eventually exited after breakfast. The Dragonbird was still in the parking slot, and Rick was deeply enamored. She briefly glanced at him, then she walked to the Silver Comet. Tinsel? Rick called to her and he wondered if he could share his findings with her. Sure, okay. You really want to do this? I'm positive. You helped me deal with the scars I've had and saved me from Dark Million twice. I really owe you a lot, Tinsel. Come, we can both start reading this at Memory Park. She followed Rick's vehicle to the designated area. The field was looking over the clear river and the Brooklyn Bridge. He said it was where he was going to propose to Haruka. He spent most of his time there just reflecting the moments he spent with her. On a bench, they sat. He removed the slab and looked inside. The writing was almost like chicken scratches, but in plain English. As Rick read, Haruka started with a person named Rose. She happened to be a close friend. The blonde introduced her to Rick during a race. Haruka said it was destiny that'll bring them together. So it was destiny that led me to her. At that time I didn't win any races. I was only an amateur. He said she and he first met while he was starting out. The one time he lost royally, and he was so furious that he slammed his own Formula One helmet on the ground with a worn-down garage. Haruka marched in and held it up. Hearing the stilettos, he opened his eyes. You? Yes, it's me. Don't give up. Haruka kept giving him advice and encouragement since she too had a gift on racing, and little by little they began to bond. Tinsel recalled they used to compete each other, but not during tournaments. Just then a flood of memories entered his mind, from the day on a peaceful balmy cruise to his victory during the New York Cup. He remembered it strongly as he gained the upper hand while his opponents gave way as they ran out of fuel. He crossed the finish line first, and he leapt out of the race car as Haruka met him. You did it! The crowd was going wild as they embraced each other. If you want to look this up, by the way, just take a look on YouTube and you'll see the English dub in lap 8. A few hours later, the couple were sitting at a table overlooking the gleaming city. 2 fine glasses of red wine were laid. You were amazing out there today, Rick. Thanks, Haruka. One more win and you'll be the top winner of the year. We'll see. There are a lot of great racers out there, Haruka. My luck can't hold up forever. It's not luck, Rick. You're the hardest working driver on the circuit. You deserve to be number 1. It's no wonder since she's been with him day in and day out. He was always maintaining his car and practicing tirelessly to keep the gears in check, and beating his personal best times. Thanks. That means a lot. Everybody feels the same way I do. I couldn't have gotten this far if it wasn't for your encouragement, Haruka. This was mostly true since she was the one who was always at his corner with win or lose. She was not only like a supporter to him, but also his topmost rival, giving him some pointers. That's sweet. Haruka, winning the championship would be great, but I got my sights set on a much more important prize. Then his heart hurt a little as he recalled the walk down to the jewelry store. It was close to a cinema, and Haruka just saw a windowsill of a mannequin hand showing a ring with a delicate diamond shining from it. She suggested it would make the perfect gift, whether Rick qualifies or not. He assented it and they walked off. Late that night, just as the outlet was closing up, he bought it and had been wanting to save it for a very special occasion. At that time, I was going to propose to her after the championship, until Haruka was standing at the same spot where Rick and Tinsel are. She was very curious in why he asked her to stay there. After waiting a couple hours, she wondered, where could he be? Once again, you can look it up in Lap 1 Remastered, Episode 1. It's from Rovanami, by the way. Rick, are you playing hard to get? I'm sorry, Haruka. I'll be right there. The signal went dead and her face disappeared. We got cut off. Well, no problem. Took out his ring and stared at its magnificent luster. This will make up for it. Attention all units! Attention all units! Suspect 7162-413 is driving a brown sedan heading for the Brooklyn Bridge. Got a call from the precinct. Described a man as armed and dangerous. He just escaped from a nearby maximum security prison, and putting the details together, Rick had a picture of a crazed inmate who looked as if he'd busted out of a nut house. I can't believe it! That's Zoda! Semi-automatic stuck out of the window and he kept looking back till he saw Rick. Zoda, you're insane! I wouldn't be so sure about that! You're the crazy one if you try to catch me! They soared through a ramp, and after about 5 minutes he finally had enough. Rick's skills as a professional racer was barely futile. You win the door prize! After a sharp turn to the right, he maniacally kept shooting at his own door. By the time the hinges were destroyed, he kicked at it with such force that he sent it flying. He was heading straight towards Rick's windshield just as soon as he made it. Through the hairpin corner, Rick nearly lost control. Then by the time he looked up, he was frozen stiff. He couldn't anticipate what was flying directly at him. His face was covered with shards of lethal glass, as was his body, while the debris rained on top of him. He was unable to stop the runaway cruiser. Then he had a brief glimpse of Luca. Suddenly sunk into total darkness. I didn't expect it to end this way. Since that night, I'd lost everything. Since I leaned into him. He didn't lose everything. Don't say that. Remember when you first met Jody and Dr. Stewart? The nurse was watching over him as just minutes after he came to. She escorted him to a white room. It was from there where he met the high-flying medico and his associate. We still have the clothes you wore before you were put into cold sleep, Rick. But I think you'll find these a bit more up-to-date. There were 2 stacks. One to the left had Rick's green t-shirt and denim coat nicely folded on the table. There was also the velvet case consisting of the engagement ring he left behind, as well as brown sneakers. The one to the right, as the doc referred to, also had some folded clothing, with a red tee accompanied with a white necking, some boots, and crimson pants. My name is Jody Summer. I'm the leader of the Elite Mobile Task Force of the Galaxy Police. I'm glad you're back. Dr. Stewart said it was touch and go for a while. How do you feel? Made a self-examination, very surprised his wounds were completely healed and had no pain or stiffness. I'm okay. He went over to the counter and opened up the ring box. He stared at it for a few moments before that dream entered his mind when he was planning to slide that ring on Haruka's right finger. Rick, wait! You took the wrong clothes with you! Rick, where are you going? I gotta go see somebody. He took off the white underclothes and dressed into his old attire. As soon as he was done, he followed the narrow hall to a spacious room, which showed a perfect view of his own future. Ah! Where am I? The infrastructure was absolutely different from what he was used to. The roads were more confusing as they intertwined with each other. There was way more traffic down below. Even the cars had changed drastically. The buildings were 3 times taller and looked more bizarre. He immediately kept following the passageway as he continued. No! It can't be true! It was then he realized he was in cryo-hibernation for the last century and a half. Plus, this place was currently known as Mute City rather than New York. I soon began to realize 150 years had passed. Nothing was ever the same again. I had a lot to endure. I still couldn't believe Haruka transformed into an abomination before my very eyes. I saw her that evening as clear as the brightest star. You can look it up in lap 8, by the way. His mind went back to that night when he met Sophia, who was believed to be hunted down by Dark Million. She was later known as Miss Killer, also known as Lunar Rider, and she was sent by Black Shadow to slay Rick, since he was the one who kept stealing his chances on retaining the prize money. Rick was on this PC, frustrated in how he to contact headquarters until she snuck in from behind. Would you tell me her name? That struck a warm chord in him. Her name is Haruka. Just as soon as he said it, his chest had a deep, sharp pain, and his throat closed up completely. The air passages were blocked. I can't breathe. Fell on all fours. Good. The spell is working. What spell? The spell that will destroy you. She tossed up her clothing, revealing a suit of armor complete with a chest plate, shoulder pads, and leggings. You sealed your fate when you said the name. She even took a shiny dagger that gleamed in the dim light. You witch! Ah! He dove out of the way before Luna made her mark. He held on to the mattress, then leapt away, leaving her to stab another blank. Rink was growing weaker by the second, and he was using a metallic drawer for support. but its weight and dissipating strength caused both of them to topple over. "Don't move! Now you'll be with your darling forever!" Although there's a slight twist, unlike Lap 8. She drew it for his heart, and Rick grimaced and looked away, his eyes laid upon the fallen velvet case where the engagement ring was. It shimmered, and for a moment they both stopped. Rick stared in the eyes of Miss Killer as she struggled to drive the dagger through him. Even as he held her arm at bay, he wanted to believe there was just an ounce of good in her. With his last ounce of energy, Rick managed to toss Luna back. She landed on her hands and gazed at her suffocating target. His vision was fading, and so was his life force, while he grew more blanch. "Rick! Rick!" From the commotion, Tinsel followed into his apartment. The first thing she saw was him laying lifelessly on the floor. Then there was the mysterious deadly Dane whom she saw jump through the large window. She landed on the roof of the Sonic Phantom, and they raced off into the darkness. Tinsel ran to her fallen friend and tried to revive him after she hurriedly put a pillow beneath his damp head. Something else happened that she didn't know about. "Rick! Rick!" As he thought he was dead, he heard a familiar, cheery voice call for him. Then he saw a light at the end of the tunnel. He shielded his eyes after he went to it. It grew brighter until he was immersed into paradise. Beautiful clouds surrounded him and beneath him. The air was calm and pleasant, and the sun shined gently on his skin. There was Haruka. "Haruka? I'm so glad to see you after all these years." "Rick, it's not your time." He was at a loss for words after hearing it. It was as if his heart dropped and shattered. He waited for the last century and a half to be reunited with his long-lost love. And now this? "Don't worry, Rick. I will always stay with you. Just remember that I'll be watching over you like I did before you slept. I promise. I'll see you again when the time comes." From that moment on, he knew that Luna wasn't exactly Haruka at all, even though she had a similar resemblance, and the engagement ring was proof. By morning, he was looking out through a large broken window, admiring the fact that she would always be deep within his heart. "Thanks for looking out for me, and for this." That was a heartwarming feeling for Rick, knowing there was someone who loved him, both living and dead, and that she was correct that Tinsel needed him, because quite frankly, he needed her too. But that was when he also remembered what Haruka told him. The woman before him was actually a falsity wearing the skin of a woman he once knew. So he continued to look through the diary, and he came across the Dark Age, even for her. The worn pages described Haruka still waiting faithfully for Rick at Memory Park during the sunset. "Where are you, Rick?" Unfortunately, she got the answer on herself from a close friend, Rose. They were taken to the ER, and she said they had to hurry in order for her to see him. She introduced Haruka to the guard of room 3. She was desperate, and he said they'd already started. Haruka rushed in and saw Rick inside. His body was completely covered in lethal lacerations, to the point where the medics were doubtful on his survival. He was also encased in ice and frost. Haruka said it was the last time she ever saw him. "Oh, I'm so sorry," he continued on. "Rick, you'll be awakened in a new world, but I won't be there. So..." He couldn't finish. He dropped the diary in his lap, which slipped to the concrete. Tinsel managed to pick it up, and she read the rest for him, barely making the lettering out. Much like Rick, even Haruka wanted to have revenge over Zoda. According to Rose, there was a trap of the East Bank set for him. There was a reward for Zoda's capture just as soon as after Rick was killed somewhat. There wasn't any news about the incident. It was as silent as that time when the task force went missing. Rose kept an instant freezing device inside and warned the director. Rose told her not to do anything stupid. A day later, the employer spotted him in a large covered van heading toward it. The place was empty except for him and several thugs. Small robots appeared then, were shooting with ice beams in the freezing facility. Then Haruka stepped in with a pistol drawn, yet she couldn't shoot him. She hesitated as it kept reminding her of Rick's tragic death, or so it seemed. Soda was arrested and banned to planet Alcatran, where he was in permanent cold sleep. Then so was Haruka after her own accident. The date of the death was when she was in cryo-hibernation. Rose said Haruka stopped being a racing queen after Rick was in limbo, and Tinsel recalled him saying she was only 21 at that time. Lastly, Rose wrote that she disappeared the night before and never returned. Then that was when she left her last thoughts and feelings behind. Since then, as Rick would get out of cold sleep, he'll have this diary. And that was the last thing they both wanted. That was the last of it. During the rite 150 years later, Soda went first, then Haruka was resurrected by Black Shadow. Tinsel wondered if Luna had to be killed. She recalled that after Rick woke up after the formula was inserted, he said that Haruka won't find peace unless Black Shadow's defeated, not just Soda. Because she had a dark aura as she was pursuing the psychotic, the demon exploited that from her empty vessel. There may never be a reversal. By the mid-afternoon, as he finished reading Haruka's diary, Falcon went up to the duo. He asked if they were ready to fight Black Shadow and rescue Jody and Dr. Stewart. They obliged, and he suggested to Tinsel that she should give Rick her own reactor might, as he may need it against him. Or rather, Deathborn. Upon the theory, Tinsel's face dropped. Deathborn? It was Deathborn? No! No way in hell! You defeated him! And we only saw Black Shadow! Let me explain. Due to his keen eyesight and memory, he noticed the silhouette was somewhat different, and half of Black Shadow's face was showing a skull after he was blinded and scorched by Rick's hidden strength and his own reactor might. It was actually a deformed Black Shadow, yet he only had a glimpse when the trio escaped with their own vehicles in the Falcon Flyer. The bounty hunter heard the same voice, but from that stunning sight, he put two and two together. He stated that he was the one responsible for everything, including brainwashing Tinsel and the task force. What are you talking about? You mean it was him this whole time? Precisely. She sunk back onto the bench. She was pale and barely breathing. Rick tried to comfort her, still perplexed in what he just heard. So it wasn't Black Shadow after all. But who is he? He was still calm, and he let it all out to his closest friend. We first saw Deathborn at the first Mute City Grand Prix last year. Tinsel and I won, and we saw Black Shadow get electrocuted, then disappear when we saw him. He described him as a cyborg of sorts, dark violet helmet and a long large cape. He was about 8 feet tall, and he was covered in elaborate armor. Falcon said he, Tinsel, and duelists were the first people to witness the murderous pilot personally. He was known as the champion of the underworld since he won the dark half of the championship belt, while Falcon won the lighter half. He defeated Deathborn within 3 fatal laps on his own course. It was fortunate he was never seen again, even though the meddling spirits said it was their best creation, until recently. That was what I saw when I touched the belt at your watchtower. Deathborn, that track. But how can he still be alive? No one can survive after their machine has been incinerated in lava. There's more to it, Rick. He unveiled about the horrific accident during the final challenge in the Grand Prix 13 years ago. At first it was rumored to be Pico. Everyone was wrong. They thought the culprit was Black Shadow, him included. Unfortunately, the Galaxy Police mentioned that several pilots hadn't actually died, but rather have gone missing, including the original owners of both Roger and Drax's machines. They were missing? Then that means Roger and Drax can never find ownership for the Hurricane and Typhoon. Falcon continued saying that Deathborn has died 3 times, and each time he had his body parts replaced with mechanical ones, making him immortal. He believed it was the creators that kept repeating the enduring process. He wasn't sure if he would be gone for good this time, since he defeated his compatriots. He also installed a device that allowed Deathborn to travel freely through space. That means he can mysteriously appear and disappear without any life form knowing it, and he tends to exile anyone he despises into the vast reaches of the universe, making them as vagabonds that drift throughout eternity. Even worse is that he plans to destroy the universe by centering it instantly. Rick heard him talk about it, but utilizing the power of the combined belt. He's the one who commands the Dark Schneider. It's also known as the Wings of Darkness. He glared at Captain Falcon, dreading the future knowledge they were about to gain. It has a brutal exterior, powerful boosting, and a menacing defense system. For him, poor handling is hardly an issue. It was coveted enough that foolish souls tried to steal it. They instead found themselves stabbed with several poisonous needles. I assure you, this menace is not a joke. He is leagues above Black Shadow. It is absolutely important that you are completely focused and in control before you confront him. But we only saw the Black Bull during the championship. You're not making any sense. I think what he was trying to say is Deathborn was Black Shadow in disguise, so he could race in the overworld, and the Federation wouldn't suspect him. It's possible he owns both the Bull and the Schneider since he died supposedly. Deathborn's way worse than Black Shadow. Who knows where he could be now? Come down, Tinsel. That bastard. I left Jody and Doctor at his mercy. He was the one who controlled my friends, won the race, and used Haruka's empty vessel. I gotta stop him! He stormed from the bench, but Falcon prevented him from progressing further. Rick! Is that what you really want? To choose death and approach the situation without a proper plan? You can't beat him. Not like this. Trust me. You don't want to be slewed or tainted over, do you? If you make any attempt to kill him now, you will only be removing his only obstacle, yourself. I got to stop Deathborn at all costs. I mustn't let him dominate the entire universe and keep enslaving everyone. But I can't do this alone, Falcon. I need your help. In that case, I've come to a decision. Rick, you must bring the Dragon Bird to headquarters. What for? Lucy, Clank, and Gazelle put all three their mechanical skills to the test. After exactly 24 exhausting hours, the Dragonberg received one final upgrade to house both Rick's and Tinsel's minds, since the Blue Falcon can only hold one. He alerted Rick his car is finally ready, and when he entered the garage, he was ecstatic. Some sections had golden-run decals upon its hood, and it's been enlarged. Tinsel followed suit, and she gave a quick reading. She was surprised its stats are coincidentally the same as her Silver Comet after it received an enhancement by the Big Fang. Thanks to the addition of a second reactor mite, its boost is greater, though its strength remained the same. Its grip had decreased, combined with an already sturdy hull, making it even rivaling the champion's own craft. Since he was the one doing the most of the work tirelessly, Clank declared it as the Dragonbird EX. I would highly recommend you give it a thorough test drive before using it as a weapon to vanquish Deathborn. I will. Thank you, everyone. It was our pleasure, Rick. Dr. Clash would have wanted it. It definitely has really cool when Falcon brought it up. We should rest while Rick trains. Yeah, I really appreciate what you guys have done. I can't wait to test it out. It's too bad I don't have the booster fire anymore. Does that mean I can't help you win over Deathborn? I almost did before. She remembered activating her secret weapon. She borrowed it from Yugi, which is the blue ice white dragon. There were 3 of them, actually. They evolved into the ultimate dragon, then the shining dragon. Like I said, if you've seen Falcon's followers, you should know this. You may not have made your move on Deathborn, but you can still help us, and the duelists may pitch in as well. How, Falcon? How can amateurs like us stand up to him? Well, you have a strong bond with Rick, so your efforts can be of some assistance, especially if he should fall under temptation. We'll try and see if we can find a way to revive Tanaka and Rodney. But until then, we need to formulate a plan. With all three of the light reactor mites, we'll be able to withstand the darker equivalences. Should I bring the other pilots? Jack, Leon, and Clank? They would be supportive. However, I'm not certain about Bert Lemming due to his constitution. He may be of help if he were to revive Jody's deeper memories. Rick, you must stay alert. I know you've just unlocked the secrets involving Haruka, but you must stay sharp as you train with the new Dragon Bird and test your skills once we get to Dark Star. Is that understood? Of course. You may stay here for now. I must head back to base and see what the Falcon Flare has picked up from the enemy's stronghold. I'm leaving my fate in your hands. No problem, Falcon. Rick, Tinsel, Gazelle, Clank, and Lucy witnessed him leave. Throughout the remainder of the day, he practiced as hard as he could with the other pilots of the old Kingly course. Although Tinsel had this risky intake on taking on all the courses from that portion of the Grand Prix, excepting Tortoise 3, they agreed and Rick managed to win every single one. At last he was able to return home. It was around 10 p.m. and he headed to his flat. Before having some proper shut-eye, he glanced at the memos once more. He looked at the ring the most, and Tinsel asked what was wrong. Rick put the casing back and explained that Haruka will be his motivation to defeat Deathborn. Tinsel understood, and he thanked her for the practice races she spent with him, as well as sharing the diary his deceased loved one left. As she tucked herself in, he then did something he'd never done before. He prayed. As he bowed his head, folded his hands, closed his eyes, and whispered, Haruka, if you could hear me, please listen. I beg you, watch over us when we deal with Deathborn, Jody, Doctor, and Miss Killer. Please protect us and stay within my heart. I promise. I will conquer Dark Million, help Falcon, and save the universe. For both of us. It was inspired by Lab 36, but I'm so miffed that, A, he had a backstory to Haruka's as well as Rick's past, B, there were some flashbacks that were featured in GP Legend, including the tragedy, and C, it just gives the story more closure, which the American version sorely lacked. It was shown as reactor mate that Zoda recollected the fact that Haruka was there with him at the bank. However, she didn't destroy him after she sworn to do. Said that Zoda was betrayed by her. Did that mean they used to work together at one point? Was there something that went bad resulting in Rick's demise? Was Haruka actually willing to serve with Zoda? That's really unsettling. Couldn't believe the anime ruined Deathborn's prowess. If you've seen the anime, I was very pissed about it. Black Shadow actually has shown him, Don Chaney, and Deathborn all in one villain. Either that or they were just puppets. But I would much, much, much rather prefer the role reversal from F-Zero GX. Even though Black Shadow was technically a lackey, but hey, I love to hate these guys. Was all resentment aside, it was very astounding that the Dragonbird EX has the exact same stats as the Silver Comet. It was definitely a coincidence, as I saw the stats after I made the upgrade to Tinsel's machine, and I never had a chance to use the EX personally. He never released Climax at international shores until I looked it up. The concept of Blue Eye Shining Dragon was an idea I had after I saw the Pyramid of Light. I don't remember much, but back then I was able to make it to the 8th chapter in story mode. I owned a card displaying that monster, then I soon gave it away. It was undoubtedly the most spectacular dual monster I've ever seen, even more than Ra or Exodia, I should think. Recoveries for editing. And the secret's been unveiled that the real big bad is Black Shadow, but it was actually Deathborn in disguise. After going down heart-wrenching memory lane, Rick, Tinsel, and Falcon prepared to make their last stand against Dark Million. Alright. Once again, if you want to see the flashbacks, you should check out YouTube in the English dubs of F-Zero Episode 1 and F-Zero Episode 8. So, this is Econ Writer signing out. Welcome back to another episode of F-Zero Ending It All. And I also find the song I just played, Ancient Missa for Maximum Velocity, to be a little depressing. Aside from Game Over A from GP Legend. Last time, Rick Wheeler actually discovered the secrets left behind by his girlfriend Haruka, as well as transforming into Miss Killer. Meanwhile, Falcon has actually discovered that it was Black Shadow causing all this mayhem, but it was actually Deathborn in disguise. And if you guys have played F-Zero GX, you would know who Deathborn is and how intimidating he is. So, Rick Wheeler no longer pilots the Dragon Bird, but rather pilots the advanced version of the Dragon Bird EX. I must admit, it looks pretty cool. I wish I could use it in Climax, but it's difficult to unlock. Almost impossible. So, let's get this going, shall we? Alright, lap 17. Tinsel was waiting in a massive busy lobby. This one belonged to a place which was believed to be the top secret. Stuart actually showed Rick once after Jody was injured in a lethal race. He promised him to not reveal it to anything about it. It was there when he found out she was a cyborg, and the location remained to be elusive against any possible threat. This was the only safe haven in mind since Rodney's hospital was invaded by Dark Million. It's supposed to be a place for cybernetic research, but Rodney's associates fled here for the sake of him and Tanaka. Rodney has been taken to an ICU and remained there for a few days. He hasn't woken up, not even during the escape from Dark Star. Tanaka was also there at a cot next to him, though he, too, was still in a coma since the crash during the semifinals. Meanwhile, Tinsel was alerted by Rick that it was time to visit the patients. The security guard unlocked the quarantine room using an ID card. The scanner allowed them entry as the light turned green on the pad, and opening the door just a mere crack. We slowly went inside with Rick leading the way. It was completely silent, and all they heard were monitors beeping as they examined their pulses. To Rick, he hadn't seen anything like it since he was in cold sleep, as well as seeing Jody as a half-robot. The two pilots sat between Rodney and Tanaka's bed, somber and worried. They couldn't believe that Dark Million was able to inflict so much damage from within. The body was one thing, but the mind was a completely different and fragile can of worms. He had the most guilt when he looked back at the young physicist. This was all our fault. If we hadn't forgotten the formula and kept it safe for you, this wouldn't have happened. You probably wouldn't be under your dad's or Deathborn's mercy. Please, hold yourself together and find your way out of the darkness. We all need you. He hardly moved as he continued to gaze at his empty shell, accepting his hands as he caressed. Tinsel's hopelessly closed her eyes. How could they be a way to revive them without Stuart's medicine? Suddenly Rick's hand began to warm. It was a soothing sensation. Then he startled as it began to glow a vermilion shade. He looked and his palm brightened. Tinsel saw it as well. Rick! This was nearly the same color you had when you busted out of that container. Why is it doing this? Memory came back when he was touching her after she succumbed to the intense dizziness when she learned the booster fire. Remembering how it awakened her and healed her headache. Maybe. He put it on Ronnie's forehead and the thermal energy became hotter as it illuminated. Finally the light dissipated, then Rick removed his hands. What did you do, Rick? I guess it has something to do with the reactor mite. I remember the same warming sensation happened to me. Then I felt my body ignite as it grew stronger. I was able to escape and break the trains Deathborn had on me. This was the same way I was able to heal you, Tinsel. So I thought this could also work on Rodney, maybe Tanaka. Wow, that's amazing. So you're some kind of healer? I think so. I have a reactor made of light. This could work the opposite way from the dark one, whereas it could give a person strength and drain it. He knew all too well, although he was very uncertain. Both of them didn't want millions of people to take advantage over his newfound skill. They waited silently and patiently until they saw someone's hands quiver. Then a weak moan escaped. Oh, Dad? Dad, is that you? No, it's us. Rick? Tinsel? Where's my dad? We couldn't save him. We were only able to get you out. There wasn't much time as Rick stubbed Dark Million. So, he managed to have you instead. Captain Falcon helped us. 3 of us escaped from Dark Star, and he revealed he was actually Deathborn in disguise. Who's he? He explained it, the bounty hunter's secrets. I can't believe this. Deathborn was Black Shadow so he wouldn't be spotted while participating in the races. And my dad told me about the horrific accident my grandpa was in when I was young. That was really him. Wait, did you win the championship? We don't know. Not even the committee is certain. As far as they know, it was either me or Deathborn in the Black Bull. He then took me in after I crashed along the course, thanks to the 2 reactor mites. He had 2 booster fires? How? His machine was stronger than mine. That was why Falcon recommended to give Tinsel's mite to me. Lucy Clank EAD and the Gazelle made some enhancements on the Dragonbird. They called it the Dragonbird EX and has similar stats to the Comet now. Though I may not use the ice beam since the mite has been given away. I see. What should we do with him? Rick suggested you should try and revive him the same way. Not sure if I could. Sometimes it takes a lot out of me. Perhaps we should dine first, so you could build up your strength. I could see why the process is exhausting. Okay, I guess we should take a little break. I'm sorry your dad's still up there. He must be anxious. I'm afraid for his life. Who knows since he's been under Deathborn's thrall for too long? And Jody, you and Falcon are the only ones that can save them. Please find Jody and my father and help them recover. I can't guarantee they return as themselves, but I promise I will defeat Deathborn with all my heart. Thanks, Rick. I know you're our last hope. Tinsel was right about you. They soon left and the guard told Ronnie he was awake as himself. His co-workers had never been any happier. It was only a matter of time before Rick would be able to regain his lost strength to heal the comatose Tanaka. After a few dragging hours, Tinsel saw the junior steward after he was examined by X-rays, MRIs, and EEGs. All his vitals seemed normal. However, there was a slight glaring detail. What happened? Just a concussion. Though it's a miracle as to how I recovered. Indeed it was. Because the formula was sabotaged by Dr. Stewart, Rodney relied on Rick to heal Tanaka. Later he did. Unfortunately, the director didn't come around as soon as Rodney. By the time he did, Tanaka was actually his better self. He seemed to have a more serious stone cold personality rather than his meager cowardly version. Just a way to combine GX with GP Legend. He couldn't thank Rick enough for saving him. The last things he remembered were searching for the reactor mites, enhancing the machines and the Death Soldiers with Clash, then participating with Pico at the Deathwind course. He didn't remember the accident that occurred, and he found out the winner hadn't been decided after the championship. Plus there was Deathborn, which he barely recognized as he kept hearing about him through the Federation. He actually thought those were mere rumors when he heard of the missing pilots. He actually recognized Tinsel, but he only recalled seeing a glimpse of her. He never put two and two together until now. And once again, it takes place in Falcon's Followers, specifically Chapter 5, Save Jody of GX. He did remember seeing Tinsel, though. The way he described it, Tinsel realized that was Slifer the Sky Dragon, Yuki's own Egyptian god. She wasn't there in Battle City, but she did see her for herself as the kid transformed into the Pharaoh and won the pursuit to aid the Blue Falcon. It was a decent choice, since it was the fastest out of the trio. He lost consciousness again until the power plant exploded. He awakened seeing the Falcon, along with Slifer. He was reunited in Jody's arms. He wobbled as he escorted her back to the Wasp. The White Cat was obliterated. Even his robotic companion, J-Love, won, which, of course, symbolizes Jody. She, however, took the wheel as she observed Tanaka going in and out. When they went to a hospital nearby, the head doctor stated that Tanaka had a concussion in his frontal lobe. Woke up within a month, and that explained why his personality changed for the worst in Jody's and Tinsel's opinions. Damage to the frontal lobe would cause a person to have a loss of attention, judgment, and decision-making skills. Patients could also change in personality as well as display excessive actions accompanied with emotions. According to Rodney, this fitted perfectly. Thankfully to him, he had a lesser impact than Tanaka. So, what are you and Wheeler going to do now? We're planning to rescue Jody and Stewart. They're still up in Dark Star. I'm sure Deathborn will demand for the reactor mites. Of course. That's his main objective. Just because the year's Grand Prix is over doesn't mean he'd stop at nothing. Wheeler and Falcon must be extremely careful. We can't let him accomplish his dream. Dream? You mean incinerating the universe instantly? Yes, but only if he manages to collect all 6 reactor mites. So far, he has the 3 dark ones. He's also building a reactor until then. I can't imagine what he'll do, but It must be stopped at all costs. Sure thing, Tanaka. Even though I hardly see you at my office, I'm sure you'll be of good use. With my permission to invite your allies to your cause. Consider it done, sir. She was enthusiastic that Leon, Beastman, and the rest of the gang would have their shot in defeating Dark Million other than racing. Goody. I'll be back at headquarters ASAP. You best prepare yourselves. While the director was resting, Rick and Tinsel told their compatriots. Everyone was thrilled both Tanaka and Rodney were back in business, as well as astonished that Rick was able to heal both of them by the power of his reactor lights. It's not just the reactor lights that made him so powerful. Hey, what do you mean by that? Never mind that. We need to develop a strategy to infiltrate Dark Star and retrieve Dr. Stewart and Jody. I agree. What do you have in mind, Falcon? The Falcon Flyer can lead us there, but we need some special weapons to assist us. You remember Yuki and Joey, the two young courageous duelists that helped me and Tinsel under our past missions? Those you just sent to Lightning? Of course. But how can they help us? I doubt the monsters could survive in space. Oh, they don't have to use just dual monsters. They also have cards they can use defensively as well. In addition, they have some trap cards that can be helpful. Trap cards? You'll see soon enough, Rick. They'd shown me what they were capable of as we ran a couple drills. Even though they aren't F-Zero racers, their skills are impressive and unique. Are you sure about this? I'm certain. They were able to help us get out of tricky situations. He recalled all those times, from the bloody chain, balancing the machine with a detached bomb, to alerting the presence of Deathborn from the Millennium Puzzle, to standing up against the Creator Ghosts. Never underestimate someone who has existed for 5,000 years. That put everyone in shock. Where are they now? They should be near the Kingly course. We should head there now before Deathborn makes his move. I'll probably get Bert and Clank. They could be of use to us. Good plan, Rick. I think we'll practice our plan as soon as we get together. But someone's got to watch over the base. I believe that's where Tanaka might stand. I fear the worst for Andy, as he had cheated death. Boyd should be a valuable asset too. All right, so by the afternoon we should be on our way. She investigated the deserted track. The only things that stood out were the active landmines littered over the wide curve, as well as a few burning craters from destroyed ones. There were no signs of Yuki or Joey. Not a single trace or clue caught her eye, not even the dual discs or the massive decks, nor the sacred puzzle the kid wears. She made the first round. She decided to exit the cockpit to take a closer look. A lot of times they would hang out in a guardrail as a safe portion. There was still nothing left behind. Tinsel! Jody! What the hell are you doing here? Where's Yuki and Joey? The captain summarized that they saved her. She once posed as a damsel in distress with them, saying her from a horde of robots. Death soldiers were coated in green and golden metal. Those robots possessed the G-diffuser system powered by Tanaka. Since he worked on a mechanic, he was just as promising as Clash. Thus he made these drones more advanced to retrieve the reactor mites. Death soldiers piloted their own machines known as the Hell Hoverers, which had an orange-yellow appearance and a poor body strength, but a decent boost in grip. Their crafts were round and had dome-like heads for the cockpits, and the toothy smiles, blank eyes, and the button noses were located in the front. Various monsters were used, such as Karibo combined with Multiply, which made a few of the storms explode. Joey's flame swordsman, equipped with a legendary sword, was used as a melee fighter, slicing any enemy that crossed their path. Yuki's Dark Magician Girl assisted him with her spells using her wand. His top hat card made her abilities more powerful. Actually, I did a lot of research to put this together. Not very good with Yu-Gi-Oh! It's not like Pokemon. Fortunately, it wasn't enough since they were agile and swift to make up for their weakness. Jody summoned Joey summons the baby dragon in conjunction with the time wizard, which thus, turned him into the thousand-year dragon. Teamed up with Slifer, putting an end to the final wave and leaving none of those goons behind. The pair were unfortunate since they attacked in a safe location rather than where the landmines were. As soon as their backs were turned, however, they got stunned by Jody's ray gun, shocking the guys on contact. Finally, they were taken to another location. Want to save the duelists? Then all I need is for you to help me pull the trigger on one simple person. One simple super arrow. That's all you have to do. Stared at her, her mouth. She stared at her mouth agape. She was never a fan of the pseudo superhero, and and she did recall how Stewart described him the Zero in F-Zero. The killing super arrow with a specially powered bullet would rip from Mrs. Arrow's heart. She knew Rick was already one to suffer such a horrible fate, knowing a puppet contaminate Haruka's form and losing everything he cared for thanks to Zoda. She even thought back to all the evil Dark Million visited upon her and her allies. With a powerful unforeseen backhand, she cracked Jody's jaw. She yelped and dropped to her knee. She couldn't believe what she saw. Blood on her knuckle. She glared up at Tinsel. I can't believe you! You want me to kill a married man just so I can save my friends? You're asking me to do the impossible! You knew Rick suffered just as much when he lost everything after 150 years. And now you want me to decide who gets happiness and who doesn't? That's no one's job! The task force with you? I'm surprised you're still even going this far. You know what was my team. If it's your team, I quit! He angrily ripped off the badge and threw it toward her. The emblem on it wasn't the usual golden color, but rather she sprayed paint in black, symbolizing corruption. How dare you call it a team? It's always been just you and everyone else. And those in Dark Million. You physically harmed others even when they were injured. I saw you inflict a lot of pain, especially to Rick, countless times. How dare you call yourself a leader? Now you're resorting to this? What would your brother think of you now? You're not a heroine. You are a disgrace. Bert was still revealed as Jody's lost brother, Andy Summer. With the real revelation, she froze. It felt as though something was trying to come to her. She tried to fight it as sensation, but in the end, she grabbed Tinsel and threw her off, nearly hitting the comet pilot in the face. With a daring finger at Tinsel, stop fighting something so useless! Stop trying to trick me! I will not be taken from my duties to Black Shadow! She turned around and ran, but it didn't end there. Tinsel threw a sharp kick to Jody's side. Then she followed up with a flurry of strikes, each alternating with varying sounds. They were muffled by her rage. She eventually found her hand and held by Leon! Tinsel! That's enough! She's still... She remembered Bert a second time and sighed. She relaxed herself, but as soon as Leon let her go, she threw one last punch across Jody's face, one that left a red circle on her left cheek. Now we can go. What has gotten into you? How would Bert feel about this? His sis bloodied and battered. She captured the duelists! She snuck to the course where she knew they would be, and tricked them as they were saving her from a swarm of death soldiers. Deathborn set up the whole thing, and then she wanted me to murder Super Arrow with this. He showed Leon the bullet. I quitted the task force, Leon. It's like she wanted others to suffer for her personal gain, and that's all she ever does! As all the painful memories flashed into her mind, she burst into tears. stood there. He knew he smelt vile, and the odor was intense, but he had no idea it was coming from Jody. She was enlisted as an assassin for Dark Million, just like Miss Killer. If she wasn't Bert's sister, I would have killed her. I know. I knew you had a grudge against Jody for quite a while, but she's still Bert's sibling. You wouldn't want this. She deserves to suffer, yes, but she can't be slewed. Believe me, I've experienced this as I lost my parents when I was still a pup. All she needs now is treatment. You're right. You're right. We need to go get Rodney so we can cure her. Or perhaps Rick. But Yuki, Joey. Don't worry about them for the moment. We have to help her and Stuart. It's the only way to win. We made it this far. We have nearly every single member recovered, including Tanaka. Don't let this all be in vain. I'd seen my people lose their way. You remembered how his homeworld was overrun by war. Thanks, Leon. I think you may need to keep an eye on her while I get Rick and the others. Gotcha. The anthropomorphic got the duelists being tied up in the epicenter of the minefield. There were several active detonators just waiting to explode if anyone was careless enough. As Leon was making his way back with the space angler, he carefully drove through and then turned loose the hapless duo. Rick saw the silver comet. He was heading toward the track. Tinsel? Butler and Clank were on their way using the Stadsred Gazelle. Unfortunately, the Falcon House would have to be out of commission until the operation is successful. Bert hasn't guaranteed it would be in business again. He would like to reunite with Jody, but they took Rick as a precaution. Tinsel! She was very distraught as she told Rick what happened with Jody, her quitting the squad. His face almost fell. Tinsel? It's not your fault. It was mine for abandoning the task force. Rick. She just couldn't find the right words. He looked deeply in her face. Tinsel, take my hand. Come back to me. I won't tell anyone you dropped out of the task force. What you did to Jody. Let Bert handle it. She was about to emerge from the opaque cockpit, and into the light was him. She went to take his offer, but then a tractor beam covered her in the comet. Ah! Rick! Tinsel! He reached out a hand, but he touched nothing but thin air. Then there was an enormous translucent figure of a deformed black shadow. He was shocked to see his face being halfway destroyed and preceding bone. He let out a belly laugh. Rick Wheeler, we meet again. Why do you have her? What are you going to do with her? She's safe here with me, Wheeler. You and Falcon best come to retrieve her. In order to have her alive, you must both surrender all your reactor mites. Oh, and let's not forget about you. You alone can determine the fate of the galaxy and your friends. You would either work for me or cross me. Your choice. I'll stand by for you on Falcon's arrival. I may not have exterminated him in front of millions of fans like I wanted to, but I could always strike fear into them and every living being in the whole universe. Yet still you've the key to prevent this calamity. Farewell, Wheeler. I will be waiting. The Dark Star left Earth, leaving him as desperate as ever. Tinsel! Leon's eyes perked up. Yuki and Joey were in tow. They left Jody behind for obvious reasons. He followed the distress to the location of Black Shadow's massive spacecraft. Oh no! Not him again! They eventually saw the image dissipate and the civilian machine race to Rick! Leon! Yugi! Joey! They never saw him this heartbroken before. The killer began to whimper. What happened? It was Black Shadow, was it? They gazed at the massive spacecraft that just emerged behind the exosphere. What the hell is that? I thought he was from the underworld. I thought so too, Yug. How is he also an alien? He's after the reactor mites, and he's holding Tinsel prisoner in exchange for them. We have to help her. Right! He headed back to the base and alerted everyone. Falcon was enraged by Deathborn's actions from capturing Tinsel to tainting Jodie's mind. Then we have no choice. We must head to Dark Star. It's the only thing we can do. But Yugi and Joey's dual monsters might not fight in space. Don't sweat it, Lucy. We can always use other ways. But taking the Falcon flare may be an easy target for Deathborn. We need multiple targets, a distraction if we need to. Rick and Leon explained Black Shadow's Deathborn shell rather than just the Emperor of Brutality himself. This didn't faze the guys too much since they were all too familiar with him either way. I'll take up the call to arms. They looked at the woman with Bert beside her. The members of the task force were ecstatic. Jodie! Captain! They all surrounded her and told her how much she was missed. However, Rick, amongst others, weren't very pleased. The crowd eventually separated. Bert was the one who brought her back, and she also remembered her dad, too. Her father, Mason, was the inventor of the G-diffuser anti-gravity system. She began training for the F-Zero competition. That when he died, his ship crashed during a flight to the Linoid system. Tanaka actually studied under Mason at the University of Io, or Io, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. After he passed, he vowed to protect her until that fateful night at Lightning. She, however, turned his offer down since she was considered to be Miss Independent. They used to work with the same unit until Tanaka was promoted to be director of the Elite Mobile Task Force while Jodie was captain. There's nothing better than brotherly love and the power of family. Yeah, until some people have been shitted on so badly. After what you did to Tinsel back there. Now she's been taken and you expect forgiveness? Arrgh. Leon, she just got her memories back. Surely her mind may have some slight traces of the corruption Deathborn bestowed upon her. But we need all the help we can possibly get. After all, Dr. Stewart is still in Dark Star. We need to save whoever we can, together. We are the universe's only hope. That didn't convince Rick and the others. They were hurt. Some even got a bad first impression. While all were cared for was Tinsel. Regardless on how you all feel toward her and the situation, we should all take Falcon instead. I assure you, Jodie won't try to backstab us again. We need to use the Galaxy Runner along with the Falcon Flyer. We must head to Dark Star before the reactor is active. Deathborn won't carry out his dreams since we're the only ones that stands in his way. Besides, how can one man who can't save one person bring hope to the universe? It's an astronomical responsibility. Unless we help him. Then it's settled. Let's go for it, Jodie. Right. I owe you that much, Falcon. She went to the central control room and activated her own personal space cruiser from underwater. Eventually, Yuki and Joey's confusion subsided, yet they were both dumbfounded. What's so special about you, Rick? I don't know. The Galaxy Runner is ready. All the pilots looked outside and saw a dark gray cruiser emerge from the depths. I actually saw it once in the anime. in the English dubs. But you can see it again in Japanese dubs, but it's very brief until you go to the later episodes. Mobile Task Force's logo gleamed within the middle of the hotel floor. Holy cow! Never seen anything like it. Jody, this is by far the most amazing thing you have ever done. It's been too long since I've last seen this baby. Yes, too long. There's no other time but now, brother, especially since Wheeler's our only chance for victory. That is, if he doesn't get tainted again. He and Falcon must prevail. Let's go. There's no turning back. I'm coming too. I'd seen the Galaxy Runner. I guess you're going after Deathborn? Yes, we are. How do you feel, Tanaka? I can't complain, now that the entire solar system is at risk. There's no time for embracing the horror. Glad to see you again, Tanaka. More with it than ever before. Oh, I couldn't have been this way if it had been for Rodney here. I'm coming too. My father is depending on me. I wouldn't call myself his son if I were to cower now. I could also heal those nasty wounds. Thanks. Let's go. We cannot wait. Yuki volunteered to stay aboard the flyer while Joey chose to take the runner. It's gonna be great to work with Falcon again. And so both ships embarked on their perilous one-way journey into outer space, pursuing both Tinsel and Deathborn. Thus, this will begin a new chapter, Destination Dark Star. And here's the music for that. Facts enlisted above were actually true because of the impact of the frontal lobe. Kind of reminds me of Jan Barry, as one collision could drastically alter someone's personality and motor skills dramatically. Which, if you've seen Dead Man's Curve, you would know. Yes, the enemy was set before GX, but in this fic, I hope I made a decent explanation as to why Tanaka was so different by comparison. I didn't like the soldier anchors. They look very similar to Soda's death anchor. They have similar stats. I felt they were lacking originality. Again! Besides, they already made the Hyper Death anchor. They were lacking originality. So there was no reason to make another replica. Yes, it was a nice idea for the drones to be F-Zero pilots, but they should have made something way more decent. Which is why they were based off of Robotnik's egg pawns. The original ones. And thus I just created the Hell Hoverers. It might be a good homage since I like the design, and they look similar to the robots. Death soldiers are such. Why do they have to be bastardized like that? Also, the last part was from the anime, when she was captured by Deathborn, only there was Haruka abducted by Black Shadow. The duel with the Death Soldiers was pretty difficult to make. So this would begin a 3-part story arc called Destination Dark Star. Task Force had finally recruited Tanaka and Jody, and are now on their way to save Tinsel and the universe from Deathborn's evil plot. Godspeed, guys. Alright, this is the Ecron Writer signing out. Next time, we will start the 3-part story arc, Destination Dark Star. I'll see you then.